That's so wrong. It's so wrong. I can't believe that a victim narrative is trying to be enforced here. I'm Layla, I'm autistic, and I watch a lot of trash TV, and I also love talking about the internet. In today's video, we're going to watch a hugely controversial interview that Paul from Married at First Sight UK has done with YouTuber Anna Saccone. For context, in case you didn't know, Anna Saccone is the mother figure of the incredibly popular family vlogging channel, the SacconeJolys. In recent years, they have been labelled by many viewers the worst family vlogging channel on the internet. And there's many reasons as to why people feel that way. At the start, Anna was very much a part of the videos. You'd see her in them all the time, but it was always very clear that the person behind actually producing the videos was her husband, Jonathan. As criticism around their content grew, Anna seemed to take a step back publicly, while Jonathan continued to post videos that a lot of viewers feel is exploitative. He became known as the dad that made endless videos about his transgender child. Some saw it as extremely invasive and felt that it was created for views and monetary gain, which Anna and I address later on in this video. But more recently, he has faced even more backlash for using thumbnails like this on videos of his minor children, and a lot of viewers are finding this incredibly inappropriate. This interview is pretty much the first time that Anna speaks on the situation and shares what she really thinks about all of this. To be honest, I am shocked about what she has to say, but I'm not surprised. I've skipped the first part of the interview because it's not completely relevant to what this video is about, but I will say this. Anna is very likeable in the first half. It's hard not to view someone that way when they're being open and honest about their upbringing and their struggles. But with that being said, let's start at the point where Paul introduces YouTube into the conversation.
I have, like I said, I've never been really a very good career woman. I just haven't. But Jonathan was the opposite because, of course, it became his career. And he is that personality type that just will obsess over the analytics and the data. And
this, I feel like, is such important context. And earlier on in the interview as well, Anna shares that she was the one that started YouTube. And when she started making money, she got her first check for about $70 or something like that. Jonathan sees this, realizes that he can make money off of YouTube, and then he decides to start. I think that, in combination with what Anna has just said, it proves that Jonathan's intention has always been rooted in money in some way. It kind of implies that everything that Jonathan has pivoted towards, he has done that with the intention of it being bigger and being better and wanting more results. And with that context, when you look at all the TikToks that he posted, particularly about his trans child, it's quite worrying to hear that he is someone that obsesses about the numbers, because then that confirms that that's a consideration for him. And when your kids are involved in the content, and they're not just involved in the content, they are the content, that, in my opinion, is really problematic.
You know, and he loves it. He loves creating, and it's just something that came very naturally to, and he's the provider too. He at the end of the day, he saw it as a way to provide for our family as it grew.
A lot of people who, quote unquote, exploit their children online, aka family vloggers, they use this justification of providing for your family. And Anna compliments Jonathan throughout this, that he's got a really insane work ethic and he's super passionate and he's super career driven. And those are all really respectable things, and providing for your family is a respectable thing. But in my opinion, it's not respectable when the only way that you can achieve that is by giving up your children's privacy. I personally wish that Jonathan would put his energy, his time, his talent, his creative brain into a personal project that didn't revolve so heavily around his kids.
Really, there's nothing special or different about us. We're just normal people. And I think that has been at the crux of how we create our content and who we create our content for. I think the people that know us and have followed us for a long time, I hope they know that what you see is what you get. And I think
I don't agree. I am going to share something. I have never in my life been a fangirl except for 10 years ago. I was a huge fan of the SacconeJolys, like a huge fan. So much so that I created an Instagram fan account. And when I tell you, I have never, ever, ever in my life done that for anyone except for the SacconeJolys. And now, at 24 years old, I'm sat here thinking, that's weird. That's really weird that I felt inclined to make a fan page around children. Like, my intentions completely, I had no awareness of like online predators or anything like that. My intentions were completely pure. I loved watching their content. It was really nice to watch, and I think there's a lot of people that used to be SacconeJoly fans that are now, that we've woken up to the fact that actually this is really wrong. And ironically, this comment that she's just made here, the people that have followed them for a long time are the same very people that have turned on them, because we saw the progression. We were there from the beginning, and we know it's wrong because we've grown up. We've understood that there are online predators. We've understood that there's a conversation around consent with kids. We've understood that it's a huge invasion of privacy, and it's frustrating as viewers. I was 14 years old, now 24. Anna is clearly significantly older than me. Why can I understand the consequences? Why can I understand the issue and she not? And this interview frustrates me because she continues to not only not understand the issue, but kind of misrepresent it a little bit.
I don't like to throw shade at anybody. I think everybody can do whatever they want, but I have seen it with maybe some of the newer channels that have started where it's drama and it's, you know, craziness, and it feels like now you have to be crazier and even more extreme. And that's just not who we are. And
I don't understand how she can just say that when Jonathan has, albeit they both claim that this new channel that Jonathan has made is for kids and targeted at kids. But if you watch that content, it's exactly the thing that Anna is just criticising family vloggers for doing. I'd love to know what she thinks is different about what Jonathan does versus what she's referring to here. Is it because they're still technically a family channel and it's more produced and set up in that way and not as organic as they approached it? But then if you zoom out and think about it, Jonathan's doing the exact same thing, if not worse. Like, those videos are pre-planned, highly produced. His eldest daughter has even admitted to doing her makeup badly for rage bait. Can you get any more produced than that? I'm honestly really confused and really taken aback of the fact that Anna can sit there and criticise other family channels, which they should be criticised. 100% they should be criticised, but not from Anna. Not from Anna.
And so we pivoted, and Jonathan is very resourceful, and he is an ideas man, and he's always wanted to do kids content. He actually set up a channel back in, I think it was 2015 or 2016 with the kids. Oh. He couldn't really keep up with it because he was still doing SacconeJolys.
Yes.
But now that's his thing is that, yeah, and he loves to make, and the kids come up with ideas, and they're.
But it's his thing, but it's also not his thing. It's his thing that he spearheads. It's his thing that he comes up with the ideas for. He edits, he produces, but actually it's your kids' thing. The content that he makes, that he's so passionate about and so great at, wouldn't exist without your children. It's really unfair because from the kids' perspective, it's like, okay, my dad's got this project and my dad is really talented and has great ideas. But if I don't help him with this video, then we don't get money. And I get wanting to make an income to support your household, but the sad reality of this situation is Jonathan isn't making that income for his household. His kids are making that income for their household. His kids are providing for their family. And yes, Jonathan produces it. Yes, Jonathan is behind the ideas. But those things could not exist and could not work and could not generate income if it wasn't for his kids. And in my opinion, that's incredibly sad and incredibly wrong.
also it's great because it gives us our privacy.
Yes.
And no one can tell us, I mean, nobody could tell me what our kids ate for breakfast this morning or what their favorite colors are or, you know, who their friends are, where they go to school. And that's been really nice because...
To form that shield around the kids.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really frustrating for me to watch this because she sat there saying, oh, it's really nice to have our privacy back. Essentially saying, you know, we didn't realise it was wrong to begin with, but we've changed that and we've fixed that and we've got our privacy back. That it's just not the case. Not only is Jonathan still relying on the kids for the kids channel, it's a different thing. And yes, he can monitor privacy a little bit different, but actually you take one look at the thumbnails that he's choosing to pair with those videos and the whole like privacy protection argument goes straight out the window. And also on her very own channel, she's still vlogging around the family. So it's just so frustrating for her to essentially say that they've learnt from their mistakes and that they don't do those things anymore, but you kind of do.
What largely do you think has been the criticism? And where do you think the critics have been right, but where have they also been wrong?
I think probably the most criticism that we've ever had is surrounding one of our children in particular, because of their gender identity.
Okay.
And that has been difficult because, and Jonathan can probably articulate this better than I can, but I think how he would describe it, and he's 100% right, is when you become the parent of a trans child, you become a victim of abuse yourself, and you don't sign up for it, but it happens.
I can't believe that a victim narrative is trying to be enforced here. I actually can't get my head around the fact that Jonathan said this to Anna. You know, you become a victim of abuse just for having a trans child. Now, first of all, that is the case in a sense, but for Jonathan to try and paint himself as a victim is so deeply frustrating to me. I don't even have the words to communicate the amount of content that Jonathan made surrounding his child's transition, and his child was 7 years old. 7 years old when she decided to socially transition. And for Jonathan to make the amount of videos he did, framing them in the way that he did, because it wasn't just, Anna tries to play it off as, oh, it was cute and supportive videos. It wasn't. They were videos that were pre-planned with a hook in mind, with a way to position it in mind, ultimately for them to get the most views possible. Choosing to transition is such a personal thing. For a parent to feel like they have the right to share that takes all the autonomy away from the child. We're talking about a transgender child specifically here, but a 7-year-old, transgender or not, cannot physically consent to their story being shared online.
The thing is, when that happens, you take it because you're protecting your child and you become their protective shield.
But this is also the really annoying thing about this stance is me and Jonathan were victims because we chose to support our trans child. There's no mention here about the hate that incited for their trans child, a 7-year-old child. And the amount of content that Jonathan was making where their trans child was at the centre of it, I can't even explain to you how many videos it was. I remember at the time, I physically had to go and block every single account that Jonathan had because it took over my TikTok For You page, it took over my Instagram, it took over my YouTube Shorts. There were so many videos. It really, really frustrates me that they haven't acknowledged the amount of abuse that their child experienced because of it.
So I would rather have somebody think that I'm a pedophile or a groomer than have me not support my child or to have somebody direct that at her. You know, I would rather they come.
But they did direct it at her. They did direct it. It takes one look at a comment section that their trans child is in for you to see that the hate is directed at her. The disrespect is directed at her. The other issue with this is it's being positioned as, oh, we were just supporting her. That's all we were doing. We just wanted to support her. But it feels like in their minds, support is only support if it's loud. And in personal cases like this, that's just not true. You can support your child in private spaces. You can support your child without having to shout about it to everyone else. Your child has a right to self-expression. Your child also has a right to control how that goes out into the world. But unfortunately, your version of support comes with a long list of disadvantages for your child. And it's really unfortunate that that doesn't get acknowledged.
I would rather they come for me or they come for Jonathan. I'll be honest, it's usually Jonathan. I think because he's a man. I don't know. There's some kind of weird, twisted way that people like to think of these things.
That's interesting. That they target him more.
Much more.
Than you. And your thought is because of his gender.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I do.
I'm sorry, that's so wrong. It's so wrong. To sit there and make it a gender thing, it's like, oh, Jonathan got the bulk of the hate because he's a man. And people are twisted, you know, they're making it all sexual. And no, Jonathan got the bulk of the hate because he was the one in 90% of the videos. He was the one that day after day after day thought, oh, what video could I make today about my trans child? He was the one who came up with the idea. He was the one that edited the video. He was the one that was in the video because he had to be, because that child was too young to be on the video on her own, because there's rules against that on TikTok. Don't get me wrong, Anna was doing it too, but for her 10 videos about her trans child, by the way, she was calling herself a trans mom, which is like, what the heck? Both of them were guilty of it. Both of them were doing it. But like I said, for Anna's 10 videos was like Jonathan's 150, maybe even more. I'm also really frustrated, and I haven't mentioned Paul yet in this video. And the reason I haven't is because outside of this interview, I really respect Paul. I think he is very intelligent in general. I think he's very emotionally intelligent. I think he gives great advice. But to have Anna on his platform, for one, I don't agree with. And throughout this interview, it's also very clear that Paul has done his research. He knows about Anna. He knows about Jonathan. He knows why the internet is mad. He knows why the criticism exists. But there's not any point in the video that he pushes back on these, in my opinion, insane things that Anna is saying. I do notice here he doesn't really affirm her. He just kind of rephrases the question and asks for clarity whether that actually is her stance. So it wouldn't surprise me if at this point Paul was not agreeing with Anna. I don't see why Paul would agree with Anna because it's just not true. It's not true. He got the bulk of the hate because of how he was operating online and the videos that he was sharing.
That's interesting. That they target him more.
Much more.
Than you. And your thought is because of
your thought
his
is
gender.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny to me. And Paul does it a few times when she gives, in my opinion, problematic answers. He doesn't affirm it. He distances himself a little bit. He goes, oh, so you think, just to like, you know, get a little bit of clarity, but also, you know, he doesn't take it any further because what can you say to that?
One of the things that people have got so wrong is they have said that she has been exploited for views, for money, whatever. But what people don't know is that we actually closed the doors on SacconeJoly's just before she transitioned.
Okay.
So her transition, you know, she was 8, so it was socially transitioning, right? She was 8 years old, and that happened after SacconeJoly's was over. So we stopped YouTube. So we really stopped our bread and butter. And we focused on other things. Jonathan was writing a book. You know, there were a lot of other things going on. So we didn't necessarily financially need to lean into that anymore. Edie transitioned pretty much off camera. And the only thing that was ever kind of documenting it was TikTok. But at the time, TikTok was super early on. So this was 2020. And TikTok didn't pay for the first couple of years. So nobody made any money. And Jonathan was just creating these cute little videos with her. And basically it was like how proud he was of her being her true self. But people saw that because they would get views. they saw that as, oh, he's making so much money from her. And in reality, no one made a penny off of that.
There is so much wrong with what Anna just said. In my opinion, it feels like an attempt to justify something that isn't justifiable. The timelines that she gave doesn't add up. She says that when Jonathan was making TikToks about their child's transition, it was in 2020 and TikTok wasn't monetized. But their child is 11 years old right now. Anna says that she started her transition at 8 years old, which would have been in 2022. That argument in itself doesn't stand. But also, if we were to play devil's advocate and say that those TikToks weren't making money, Anna says herself that at the time, Jonathan had written a book. And anyone who understands social media and understands business knows that it doesn't matter that those specific TikToks weren't monetized, because the amount of views that they got was astronomical, like absolutely insane. The exposure that you get from them, the increase in followers that you get from them funnels directly into the promotion of his new book. So there's still an element of monetary gain in there, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. And with all that being said, exploitation isn't just limited to monetary gain, and Anna says it herself in the beginning. She's like, people think that we exploit our child for views and money. You know, you can still exploit a child for views. It doesn't have to be for monetary gain, although we've already kind of established that that is an element anyway, because Jonathan was promoting a book at the time. It's equally fascinating and incredibly, incredibly annoying that that's the way that Anna chose to justify it.
And if anything, I would say a lot of the brand deals dried up after Edie socially transitioned.
And do you believe specifically because...
I know so. Yeah.
She's transitioning. Okay.
Yeah. I think a lot of brands were probably afraid to associate themselves with a family with a trans child.
I think, again, in the interest of fairness, she's probably right here. Brands probably did, take a step back. But also, you've got to consider the context, the amount of TikToks that Jonathan was doing and the backlash that he was getting for it. It's not just that, you had a trans child. It was that your husband was making video upon video upon video about said trans child, and people had a problem with it. And they didn't just have a problem with it because your child was trans. They had a problem with it because to them, it comes across like performative, promotion. I've got a trans child, this video will go viral, I'll get attention. That's to how a lot of people it came across. So at that time, it wasn't just that brands stepped away because you had a trans child. Brands were probably stepping away because they could see and could acknowledge that that level of essentially self-promotion for such a deeply personal journey is risky. Because it is. And also, the fact that they lost out on brand deals doesn't really help them with the exploitation claims, because it does not matter if they were 500% down on yearly earnings. Them consistently making content where their trans child is the face of it, where said content gets millions of views, lots of exposure, more followers, possibly more book sales, like that, it doesn't excuse it. It doesn't excuse it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you have in your pocket at the end of the day. And it's not a case of what you gained versus what you lost. It's purely the fact that there was video upon video upon video upon video showcasing your trans child story, who's incredibly young. Like, she's 11 years old today. And this was something that they continued to do, but they started to do years ago. Like that is what the issue is.
We've never shared anything that our kids would be embarrassed of. So that was always kind of...
How do you know that, though? How do you know that? How can you sit there and confidently say, I've never posted anything that my child's going to be embarrassed of? Because what you perceive as embarrassing might not be what your child perceives as embarrassing when they get to 18 years old. It's like, how can you say that? And also, one look at the thumbnails that Jonathan makes for his kids' videos, I don't know how anybody, when they grow up, would not be embarrassed by that. It feels so personal and so invasive. Like, it's just a weird thumbnail. to make, using pictures of your kids in weird positions. I don't know anyone who wouldn't be embarrassed about that when they grow up.
Of our rule book, that we want to just share like the cute moments and the cute, the happy family memories. So it's kind of like a family photo book or something like that. I actually got in trouble because I started to question, okay, things are changing now. And, people are saying family vlogging isn't so great and you shouldn't share this, that, and the other. And so maybe I should delete some of the video or private some of the videos that are on my channel. So I did. I went in and I privated some of them. Quite a lot of them, actually, because I wasn't really sure. I was like, well, the baby updates, should they really be on there? I don't know. Like, who knows, right? We're all learning. So I did that. And Amelia came to me straight away. Actually, both Amelia and Edie. Where are all of my baby updates gone?
Really?
Yeah. And I was in so much trouble. She was like, why did you get rid of them? I used to watch them every night. I was like, I'm so sorry. And she asked me to put them back.
I don't blame those kids at all for wanting to see those videos. Not at all. Not in the slightest. My issue with this is Anna is basically saying she doesn't know what's right and what's wrong and what crosses boundaries and what doesn't, which for one is something I personally have an issue with, because without sounding incredibly offensive, and it's just my opinion, it doesn't take a genius to work out what is too personal and what isn't. But also another thing that frustrates me a lot here is, oh, my kids wanted it back and they love watching the videos, so I unprivated it again. And like, unlisted videos exist. Like, just because the video is private doesn't mean it's not available to watch ever again. Surely in that scenario, instead of jumping from having privated something for privacy reasons to, oh, my kids, they want to watch the video, so I'll make it public again. Like, the jump from private to public when there's a middle ground of unlisted, it's like, why wouldn't you do that? I understand the kids wanting to be able to watch those videos, but I don't understand why it's a choice between privating the video and making the video public to whoever in the world that wants to access it. It's really annoying. It's really annoying for Anna to sit there and be like, I didn't really know what to private. I didn't know why I was doing it, but I did it. And then my kids didn't like it. So it's like...
How do you feel? And what is your response to the negativity that comes after him? Because not only around Edie do I feel like he disproportionately gets the hate, but I think just generally.
Okay, I was trying to give Paul the benefit of the doubt, but to say disproportionately gets the hate is just not true. And I can try and give Paul the benefit of the doubt and say that he doesn't know about the amount of TikToks that Jonathan was posting because he went and searched Anna's videos. But it's not disproportionate. It's not.
Generally.
There's a documentary that I'm sure a lot of people watched about you. It was Stacey Dooley's documentary. Mm-hmm. And I distinctly remember looking at the comments.
Yeah.
And the comments, the general theme of the comment was, this guy is the problem. Mm-hmm. Anna, go save yourself. Like, get out of this situation. Go back to Baltimore.
Yeah, it's so what I mean? Funny. It's like people get it so wrong.
But it feels like...
I'm not being funny though. Jonathan came across so horribly in that documentary. Not only did Stacey ask him outright about online predators and people, possibly viewing his children's content, and him essentially saying, well, I don't know. I don't see the problem. I don't know. Is that bad? I don't know. Kind of similar how, Anna was acting about not knowing what's too far and what isn't. Like, ugh. But not only that, there are points in that documentary where the way that Jonathan speaks to Stacey is really rude and really condescending. And that whole documentary, I think the opinions on Jonathan in that are very valid, because you can't kind of edit together someone being rude and speaking rudely. If I was to be fair, I would say that Stacey was She was pressing a little bit, but then that's what she does as, you know, as a reporter. That's what you do, is sometimes you ask the hard questions, but Jonathan was not liking it. Yeah, I think maybe a few buttons were pressed. Stacey had the right to kind of press and poke a little bit. Jonathan didn't have the right to speak to her the way he spoke to her. This video is getting really long, and I'm also sick of sitting here and watching the interview, to be honest. It's frustrating. It is frustrating. But to sum it up, I think Anna, towards the end, also talks about her youngest daughter, I think. She recently found out that she was replying to hate comments, and Anna laughs it off and calls it cute. She says something along the lines of, you know, it's a problem, but, you know, we thought it was really, really cute. That's not cute. And Anna and Jonathan have also said before that they encourage their kids to read hate comments, which is really unfathomable to me. I don't know why you would do that to your children. Again, bearing in mind the oldest one is 13. And I remember them saying this a few years ago, so they were even younger at that point. I don't understand why you would be okay with that. Like, I understand being online means that the kids are going to be exposed to it anyway, but I think something like that needs to be approached with so much more care than just laughing it off and calling it cute. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm the crazy one. I don't know. Okay, let's end that there. Let's end this here.